Welcome back, everybody, to another Out of the Park 22 Phillies episode. Here we are at the end of the 2022 postseason. So today I'm going to show you this little postseason, what happened in the postseason here, and then I'm going to get into the offseason planning of what's next for the Phillies. We're going to be going into year 3 with me at the helm. Year 3 of trying to get Bryce a championship here, trying to bring the city of brotherly love a championship. You all deserve it. And so World Series, Tampa Bay over the Reds in 7 games. I'm sure MLB was just super enthused with the ratings bonanza of Tampa Bay versus Cincinnati. Interesting that both championship series, Tampa and Houston, and Cincinnati versus New York, went 7 games. And all of the division series went 4 games. All of them were 3-1. So, yeah, the Mets knocked off the Padres and then the Dodgers. Represent NL East. And so, yeah, so that's the old postseason bracket. Congrats to the Rays. Congrats to the Reds on reaching the World Series. I'm happy to see that. I like the Reds. As some of you may know, I almost chose them as my team. I don't know if I would have gotten them to the World Series as quickly. That's pretty impressive. And, yeah, they signed Carlos Correa, and I think they traded for Joey Gallo. So let's get into the offseason planning. Again, like I say every time, the offseason is my favorite part of this game. Kind of mapping out what I'm going to do is I like it. And so let's get down to it. Realmuto will be back as catcher, and Bohm's going to be back as first base, but man, we're going to need better than this from Alec if he's going to stick around long term as a guy who I think is just a first base DH type. 8% above league average with the bat is okay, but it's not good enough for a team with championship aspirations when you can only play first base or DH. I need a premier hitter in that spot. I think Bohm can be that guy, but he hasn't been that guy yet. So give him one more year to be his 3rd year as a full-time player. I'm looking for a big step forward from him next year, but he's our first baseman going into the season. Merrifield, it's going to come down to Merrifield or Hoskins, which I know is a weird thing to say considering one plays second baseman, one is the first base DH. I'll explain more on that in a minute. Didi will not be back. Didi will not be back. He's a free agent. We're not going to re-sign him. He's a league average player for us this last year, but we need to go out and get an impact bat at third base, and we're going to go do that this offseason. We flirted with that idea last offseason, then didn't pull the trigger. We're doing that this offseason. Adames will be back as shortstop. I think Brian Reynolds will be back in left field, even though he was a disaster after being an MVP candidate before we traded for him. He's a good player, though. He's a switch hitter. I need guys who can hit against lefties. And he's under contract for 3 more years on a really, really cheap deal. So I think he'll probably be back. Kiermaier will be back in center. Bryce obviously back in right. Now the Hoskins versus Merrifield thing, the reason I say that is because I have multiple guys in the minor leagues who have been up, like Nick Maton, who was incredible in 230 plate appearances for me, who I need to find playing time for some of them. And I'll show you some of the other guys, but here, let me pull up some of them now. Another guy is Bryson Stott, who's the number 25 prospect in baseball. He's 25 now. He put up a 126 WRC plus in AAA. Now, him and Maton are both kind of primarily second basemen, but can both play all the infield positions. But at 25 years old, number 25 prospect in baseball, he deserves a shot on the roster in some capacity. And then I need to find at bats for guys like Hazley or Moniak. Swaggerty's around, Jahmai Jones. Alfonso Rivas was really good when I had him up this year. Too many of these guys are left-handed, which is an issue I'll get to in a minute. But I need to find room for some of them. I don't want to block all of them. And Maton's proven he can play. So I think if I bring Merrifield back, the DH spot will kind of be where I rest guys like Bryce, Reynolds, whoever my third baseman is, Alec Bohm. I give them days off to DH, but that allows us to get Maton, Stott, or Hazley or Moniak, whoever's on the team, into the lineup on a regular basis. So I want to find a way to play those 3 or so young guys I'll have on my roster, find a way for each of them to play like 3-4 days a week. And I'm going to do that either through Stott and Maton being my primary second baseman and Merrifield's gone and Hoskins at DH. And then like Hazley would get some playing time in all 3 outfield positions and DH, something like that. Or Merrifield's at second and, Maton backs him up, Stott backs him up, and they back up third base, they back up shortstop, and then, say Hazley backs up all 3 outfields, And then they all split time at DH, and they all get at bats at DH. So not quite sure what direction I'm going to go. Hoskins was terrible this year, but he's such an impact bat when he's good. I mean, he went from 31% above league average in 2021 to 14% below league average in 2022. I mean, just a massive, massive drop off from him. A 472 slug down to a 397. His on base went down almost 100 points from a 381 to a 292. He's only got 1 year of team control left, and I don't think we'll re-sign him, but he could be an important middle of the order presence if he can regain what he can be. If he can get back to that form, he's a huge bat for us. But Merrifield is older. Hoskins is 29. Merrifield's 33. Merrifield's a solid player, and he can play multiple positions. He bats right-handed, which Hoskins does too, and that's another reason I want one of them around. But he was just really bad for us, and at 33, but he is quite cheap. Team option for $6.5 million. I think I'll pick up that option regardless and then deal him if I don't deal Hoskins. So that's kind of the thought process there. You know, I think my backup catcher, Hedges, is upset about not starting, so maybe I'll go find another guy who's elite defensively to plug in there. And like I said, the backup infield thing is kind of in flux depending on what I do with Maton, Stott, Merrifield, Hoskins, that whole thing. Backup outfielder, I think Moniak or Hazley will be in here as a lefty, and then I need a righty. Grichuk is unhappy that he's not starting, and he sent me an email about it. He's really mad. He'd like to speak to my manager. So I think I'll probably let Grichuk go and bring in a different guy who can mash lefties as my fifth outfielder, who's right-handed. But all my prospects, pretty much all of them are left-handed. So we'll see what we do there. I have a possible trade lined up. I'll show you guys in a minute. Now the pitching side of things, super interesting. Nola has a team option, which I'm obviously picking up for like $16 million, and then he's a free agent. Last year of Nola, and now this is for this deal he wants would start in 2024. So this would pick up the 23 option, and then when he's 30, an 8-year, $250 million deal would start. No, thank you. Even as the Phillies with their budget, I'm not giving a 30-year-old that contract. Now, if his expectations come down a little bit, or if I can get him to chop that deal like in half in terms of the years, we'll talk. But this could be Nola's last season with us. Same thing with Sonny Gray, and that's mainly because of age on Sonny. Sonny is 33 now. He had a nice year for us, and he's got an option year, which you're going to pick up. But then after the option year, he would like a 4-year, $96 million deal, and he'll be 34 when that deal kicks in. No, thank you. So that is why, Barrios and Eflin are both free agents. And normally I would not be looking to sign two guys free agent prices. But one, we're the Phillies, we can afford it. And two, we got to plan for the fact that we're going to lose Nola and Gray next year. So Barrios is 28. It's a reasonable age. He'll be 29 next May. And the contract that he wants, I'm not going to sign. But he was real solid for us when he came over. Didn't get blasted by home runs in our ballpark. Now, he wants a 7-year deal. I'm not going to do that. If I can then get him down to like 5 with the 5th year as an option, I'd think about it. Because then he's 33 when the option year comes up. It's past when I normally want to sign pitchers, but I think the advantage of playing as a big market team is you can take on these deals that might be bad at the end. And man, we are, it's the last year of Nola. It's the last year of Gray. Maybe the last year of Hoskins. Bryce is 29, 30. Realmuto is in his early 30s. Now's the time. Now's the time to be like, yep, we're going out and we're spending a lot of money this offseason, including signing a 28-year-old pitcher to like a 5-6 year deal for $25 million per season. Not normally my philosophy or my approach, but with the Phillies and their budget and where we're at right now, I think I'm going to bring back Barrios if I can get him down a couple of years. So Wheeler will be back. I think he's 32. He just had a really nice year for us. He's got 2 more years left. Expensive. It could get ugly in a hurry here in Philly. We've got a lot of guys between the ages of like 28 to 32. Eflin is 28, and he was a league average starter for us in 21, and then he was really good in 22. So I think this is a guy that makes sense to bring back. He's asking for 4 years at $15.3 million per. If I can get him down to like 3 years and an option around like, I don't know, 12 to 14 million, I'd probably pay 15 million. I'll do it because I think it's important that I have a really deep rotation, and I think it's important that I have a really good team in 2023. And I think I'm going to sign some contracts that I might regret in 2025. But again, it's just the position we're in right now, and I think we need to go for it. So Trinan will be back. Bard is a free agent, probably will not be back. Probably look for cheaper alternative. Alvarado's back. Barnes probably not back. Kolarek and Alexander are both under contract and they're cheap, so they'll probably be back because they're decent. Dominguez will be back. Eastman, he showed himself well. 71 innings, 3.27 ERA. He'll have a role on our team probably. Chatwood I don't think will be back. Feltman will be in the mix for a bullpen role. The bullpen will kind of be the typical thing of like, let's find, who are the free agents of this offseason that we can get on anywhere from $3 to $7 million deal for 1 year to fill out the rest of the bullpen spots. So we've got some guys who can come up too. We've got a few interesting pitchers. Edward Segovia is number 5 prospect in baseball, and he's promoted to AAA. In the middle of last season, he only made 8 starts, and then he went out in early August with shoulder inflammation and was missing 4 months. But hopefully that doesn't sit him back. Shoulder injuries are always scary. And, shoulder injury will tank a guy's career where he can come back from an elbow injury. But shoulder injuries are much harder to come back from in real life, and been my experience in out of the park too. But he looks like, he's going to be on the team at some point next season. Probably not the beginning of the season because I want to manipulate his service time. But he will be back. He will be in at some point. I think he's probably going to pitch out of the bullpen. And then next year when we lose Nola, when we lose Gray probably, I think at that point he maybe steps in if he's taken a step forward and is looking like one of the better young pitchers in baseball. Spencer Howard, we'll see. Some of these other guys might play a role, like Poulin might have a place for, on our team next year, but we'll see on that. So let's talk about the trades that I'm thinking about. No, I clicked the wrong tab. I clicked statistics, but we're going to go to transactions. So like I said, we're going to go out and make a splash at third base through trade. There's really no one coming up in free agency who's that interesting at third base. So when I go to the strength overview and I go to third base, Manny Machado is the number 1 third baseman. Bregman is number 2. Ramirez, Rendon, Devers, Chapman, Bryant round out the top 7. I was really interested in Jose Ramirez. He's entering the last year of his deal at $13 million per year next season. I thought maybe the Indians would be open to getting something for him, getting a package for him at this point. I was mistaken. It's impossible to get him. This is what it would take. It would take Sonny Gray, so my number 2 starter, Brian Reynolds, my starting left fielder, Logan Davidson, who is the number 26 prospect in baseball and had a 140 WRC plus at AA last year and is a power bat who's looking like he might be on my team sometime next year or the year after. Adam Hazley, who is in my plans for the future, and one of my better bullpen arms in Sir Anthony Dominguez, all for 1 year of Jose Ramirez. Now, if he was under contract for like 5 years, I might start to think about it, right? I might start to figure out ways, okay, well, how can I plug in holes that it's going to leave with Reynolds and Gray, and let me get in an all-star player in the middle of my lineup. But for 1 year of it, I don't think so, man. I don't think so. So then I looked at Alex Bregman, and this is all it would take to bring in Bregman. And I messed around with these deals for a while to try to find the absolute least I could give these teams. I worked around with the make it work now button a lot. So Bohm, my starting first baseman and best young hitter. Hazley, future outfielder for me probably. My starting left fielder, Brian Reynolds. Rafael Marchand, one of my better trade chips. And then a minor league pitcher for Bregman. And Bregman is under contract for 2 more years at $28.5 million. So again, I'm not going to give up multiple starters out of my lineup as well as one of my better young players to do this. So then I went to Chicago and I said, hey, how do you feel about giving up Chris Bryant? And they felt pretty good about it, actually. This is a deal I'll consider. They're going to eat 45% of his deal. I will be paying about $10 million per year. About $14 million per year, sorry. And so for 3 more years. And so I get 3 years of Bryant at around $14 million per year, which is reasonable. He's 30. He had a monster 2021, a solid 2022, but not great. And he is 30, so that's a little worrisome. And I'd be giving up. So basically, Estanista, Duran, and Perkins could get me Bryant with eating his full salary. So, and none of those guys matter to me too much. Duran is an interesting power hitting catcher. But so then they wanted me to throw in Christian Hernandez, who is a young pitcher who a lot of teams are interested in. I don't see that necessarily the appeal there. He's a decent young pitching prospect. Gabriel Yanez, another pitching prospect who a lot of teams are interested in, but hasn't done anything in the minor league. So I'm not giving up anything big of value. Hernandez and Yanez, but I'm getting back 2 pitchers too. Ryan Jansen is a minor league pitching prospect who didn't do much in Double-A, and he was really bad in High-A actually. So struggling, but. And then I could also get back a reliever, Bert Caraway, who his control, he'll be a great major league pitcher if he can cut down on the walks, but he had 6.1 walks per 9 at High-A as a 23-year-old. Not great. But it's basically Bryant and 2 pitching prospects for 2 decent pitching prospects and then 3 nothings. So a decent deal, but I don't know. I mean, Bryant's age and his dip in performance this last year worries me. Because if he comes over and he's just a league average player, he's basically Didi Gregorius for me. So then, of course, the love affair with Manny Machado continues. So San Diego, what do you want? Manny's got 1 year. The thing that's worrying is he's got 1 year until his opt-out, right? 2022 season's over. So he's got 1 year until his opt-out's up, and then he's got 5 more years. But they're willing to pay a large chunk of his salary, where I would basically be paying about $16.5 million per year for Manny. That is not crippling as the Phillies. Even if he stayed with us, and next year, he's 31, so I had him through his age 31 through 35 seasons at $16.5 million. That's fine, even if he drops off. He's been really good the last 2 years. He's been better than Chris Bryant. So I can't get them to throw in anything else, like no bullpen pieces, but I'm really not giving up a ton. Izzy Wilson is one of the more interesting players, but I think he's going to strike out too much. He did hit 20 home runs in High-A last year. Looks like a decent outfielder who might be able to hit, but he's 24. Daniel Brito is a guy who teams have been asking about a lot with the Make This Work Now button. I'm not quite sure why. He's not elite defensively. He has not been good offensively. He's 24. And then Christian Hernandez, this was the player who was also in the Bryant trade. Looks like maybe a control pitcher who could possibly be a league average starter for you if he develops. Hermes Astudillo looks like a AAA reliever, but he's only 20, so you never know. And Josh Alger was my 21st round pick in 2021, 19 years old. Looks like he's going to need to progress some and raise these ratings if he's going to be a major league piece. So I'm not giving up anything too painful for Bryant or Machado. I think it's more fun to trade for Manny. I like that Bryant's under team control longer, for sure. With Manny, it's up in the air. But I like Manny better as a player. I think Manny's been better the last 2 years. So I don't know. I think I might pull this trigger on Manny and have him bat in the middle of the lineup with Real Muto, Harper, possibly Rhys Hoskins. I think you're cooking with gas there. If Manny comes in and plays like Manny, Hoskins bounces back, I think we've got a good lineup at that point. So I also was looking around at starters at one point when I was thinking I wasn't going to re-sign Barrios, and I still might not. And Justice Sheffield put up 4 WAR for the Mariners after not being great in 2021, 1.3 WAR, 1.9 R WAR, so around league average with his run prevention. And he's going to enter arbitration, and his estimate is $4.4 million, but he's got a great slider, and he's a ground ball pitcher, good movement. I think he'd be good in my park. And for some reason, the Mariners love Spencer Howard, who looks like almost as good of a pitcher according to scouts, but he's actually older, and he hasn't had the success at the major league level. I mean, Sheffield was basically better in the majors than Howard was at AAA, and Howard's 26. And Howard, he only got 33 innings for me. Teams are still really interested in him. I'm sure he's going to be a decent major league piece, but I think Sheffield could start now, which if I re-sign Barrios and I re-sign Eflin, well, then what do I need Sheffield for? Well, I think I could put him in the pen as a stopper for a season, and he's going to be pissed about it because he wants to be in the starting rotation. But then next year, when I, probably lose Nola, and I probably lose Gray, I've got Sheffield ready to jump in. And I've got him on a decent contract. He'll have 2 more years of team control left at that point. Now, if I put him as a stopper and he gets saves, his arbitration estimate's going to go up. I think I can deal with that. So that's the thought there is okay, let's have 6 major league starters, plus my young guys like Segovia and, maybe a couple other guys, Eastman. And then next year when I lose a couple, I've got Sheffield ready to jump in. I don't need to go out and jump into the free agent market to replace Gray or replace Nola. I'll have somebody who's cheaper so I can spend that money elsewhere. So that's a trade I might do that I think will help the bullpen this season, will help the rotation depth, but really looking to 2024. And, I don't necessarily want to trade Howard. I think he's one of my few decent young pitching prospects, but he's 26 now. Sheffield's better, and Sheffield's what, 24? Oh, Sheffield's 26 too. Okay, never mind, they're the same age. But and he's also a lefty, so I'm interested in this deal. There's some risk to it because I think Spencer Howard could be good. Another thing that I've mentioned is I have too many left-handed hitting prospects. I need somebody to come in and hit lefties as a righty next year, and the O's have this guy. I was thinking about trading Moniak or Hazley straight up for this guy because he's right around the same age. He's 25. He can play corner outfield just like them, and he's a good hitter, but he's a righty, which I need more of. He had a 100 WRC plus and 19 homers for the O's and 438 plate appearances. I think he might be my Grichuk replacement, and he's young, so hopefully he can take a step forward with this power, and he will probably be my fifth outfielder. None of these. So, this guy's a decent catching prospect. He absolutely mashed in rookie ball as an 18-year-old with a 116 WRC plus, but not a good enough catcher ability to be a long-term piece for me. So it's basically Perez and then some guys for Cespedes. So that's a deal I'm thinking of making too. So that would mean, Hazley / Moniak is my fourth outfielder, one of those two, and Cespedes is my fifth, and they back up Reynolds, Kiermaier, and Harper. And then, we'll see Real Muto, Bohm, and I think I'm going to lean towards trading Merrifield, but that could change. All this could change, but this is my thought process now. And, leaning towards Maton starting here, and then Stott backing up all three infield positions, and then with a DH of Hoskins and probably Manny at third. I think that's a pretty good team. And then rotation hopefully will be the same, and we'll see what we can piece together with the bullpen. But that's all for this one. I'm gonna, I hope Philly is excited with the trade rumors swirling about Manny Machado or Chris Bryant possibly coming to town. So I'm gonna get back to work and hopefully be back with an exciting opening day roster for the 2023 season. It's time to go win a championship before Bryce gets too old. Thanks for watching.